Hey guys, TripleB here! We just concluded the second week of the North American Budget Build Battle Tournament. If you're not familiar with the format, it's kind of just like an off-meta way to play the game. No rulebox cards are allowed, so Radiants, A-Specs, EXs, and Vs, get them out of here. It's all about the single prize cards. There's also a limitation of just 2 copies of a card with the same name. An exception is given for basic Pokemon though to help with consistency in deck. So if it evolves into a stage 1, you can have 1 extra copy of the basic. Stage 2, you can have 2 extra copies of the basic. Also, sorry about this, my cat Leo's hanging out with me, but apparently the YouTube voice is waking him up from his nap, so I'm gonna let him pop down real quick and then we'll get right into this. So first place, 8th place, we are seeing an Altaria deck that was piloted by a regular of the channel, Slowen. He's calling it his sleep control deck. Altaria has the attack Soothing Lullaby. It's gonna do 110 damage for a water and steel energy, and your opponent's active Pokemon's gonna fall asleep. During Pokemon Checkup, they're gonna have to flip 2 coins instead of just 1. If either of them is tails, yeah, that Pokemon's gonna stay asleep. So it makes it very difficult for them to try and get attacks off. You can't hard retreat out of it. You're just gonna be sat there and Altaria's kind of chipping into you. So yeah, interesting card to build a deck around. To pair with it though, they used Bibarel as a draw engine, also having Mawile for the tempting trap attack. During your opponent's next turn, they can't retreat, so it's kind of just locking them in the active, and then the next turn when you hit them, they're gonna take 90 more damage from it. So you could be setting it up so that Altaria is doing 200 damage into something, not bad, or just locking your opponent out and kind of controlling them out of the game. Because like if you see, hey, they've only got like 5 cards left in their deck, I'm just gonna do this and make them deck out slowly. Like they're drawing 1, draw 2, draw 3, draw 4, draw 5. Bye. So yeah, interesting concept. Definitely going for more of a control vibe. I'm not very much of a control player, to be completely honest. And I know Slowen usually checks out these videos. So if you're here, hey buddy, if you want to make some comments in the comments below about how to play the deck, you're more than welcome to. Pretty standard control stuff we're seeing in here though. Eerie to get rid of items from your hand. They did have Chorus's Tenacity to help them get into their stadium cards, as well as special energy, or just energies in general to help with their Altaria, but it could get you Luminous energy, your steel, your water, just making sure that you always have whatever you need to pay for the attack cost. Also having Pokemon League HQ to make it so basic decks, they're gonna have to pay 1 more energy to get attacks off, making their lives pretty difficult. They're slowly charging it up. You're gonna use Crushing Hammer, get rid of an energy. They slowly still manage to get an attack off. Just have Handheld Fan on there. When they hit you, you bounce an energy back onto their board, but more than likely, Altaria is just putting them to sleep, so they're never actually gonna declare an attack. Yeah, this deck's kind of intimidating, and congrats on making it into top 8, Slowen. In 7th place, we have Zach, who is piloting a Steelix deck. So Steelix has Earthquake, 130 base damage. It's gonna do 30 damage to each of your bench Pokemon though. So a little bit risky. Big number though for 1 energy, so can't really complain. And the damage counters aren't really that bad though. Like it's kind of helping you out. Because we do have Dodrio in here. Dodrio has an ability, lets you damage itself, draw a card. So yeah, you're hurting yourself with Steelix, you're hurting yourself with the ability, but it's gonna charge up Ballistic Beak. It does a base damage of 10, then 30 more damage for each damage counter on this. So Steelix is helping you ramp up damage, you're helping yourself draw cards and ramp up damage. Really interesting concept, and kind of like what they've gone here. They've just got, hey, these are 2 stage 1s, they both need 1 energy, they can get online quickly, and yeah, Bob's your uncle, just go. There's a lot of Frostlass running around in the format at the moment too, so Frostlass will be damaging this, just scaling up how much you can hit for. So yeah, I like that. A little bit concerning though, we aren't seeing anything to remove damage counters from your Pokemon. Like you've got Damage Pump to kind of shuffle them around a bit. So if you're seeing Frostlass, you could use Damage Pump, maybe take some off of Dodrio. It's like, I'm hitting the breakpoint number I need to. Take some of these damage counters, put them onto Steelix. He can have them. He doesn't have an ability. He's not going to gain more between turns. Not a bad shout, but something like a Monkey Dory potentially in this list could help out. Maybe running it with like Luminous energy just to cover the dark attack cost, or the dark requirement of the Monkey Dory, but still being flexible enough that the Steelix could use it. Could be something to experiment with, or even just some dark energy, since it could pay the colorless attack cost on the Dodrio, would be something like might be worth experimenting with. But obviously the list worked for them. They made it into the top 8, so congrats again on that, Zach. The rest of the list though, it's looking like pretty standard staples we're seeing in here. Carmine, really good draw supporter, allowed to be able to use on the first turn of the game, so love to see that. Normally you can only use supporter 2nd turn of the game, so great card to include. Also seeing Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking in here, allowing you to search your deck for 2 cards and pop them on the top of your deck. Not one we see in a lot of decks, but pairing this with Bibarel is obviously an amazing combo. You can just go, I need these 2 cards, Bibarel's gonna draw me into them. Good. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Also having Big Air Balloon in here is interesting. The stage 2 Pokemon this card's attached to has no retreat cost. I don't see any stage 2 Pokemon in this list, so I could be missing something. Yeah, that's a card. That card is in here. Zach, if you're watching this video, maybe comment down below. Was there a reason to include this, or was this a bit of a hiccup on the deck building process? I'm just not too sure. Maybe the deck imported over here incorrectly. But yeah, that one's throwing me a bit, I'll be honest. In 6th place, we are seeing Kirketta, who piloted a Torterra deck with Galvantula. So, bit spicy. Torterra's Evo Press scaling up by 50 damage for each of your evolution Pokemon in play, and having the Grotle, who can be searching your deck for any grass Pokemon once per turn. So it's basically Turtwig evolve into Grotle, Grotle get me another Grotle, evolve another Turtwig, that Grotle get me something else, and then you just slowly expand your board, and eventually get to the point where Torterra is just doing incredible damage. Having the Galvantula as a secondary attacker in here though, I like it. Also a grass Pokemon, so you can search it out with Grotle. It's a stage 1, so you don't need to worry about getting all the way up to a stage 2, whereas Torterra has that. So it's like, you could rare candy into Torterra, but you usually want to be like manually evolving up through Grottles to get there. So Galvantula just giving you an attacker that can get online a little bit faster. Its ability, Compound Eyes, makes it so the attacks used by this Pokemon do 50 more damage to your opponent's active, as long as they have an ability. And then the Shocking Web attack is going to do a base damage of 50 and 80 more if it has a lightning energy attached to it. So if you're hitting a Pokemon in the active that has an ability, you're doing what? 50 plus 80 gets you to 130 plus another 50, you're getting up to 180. Not a bad number to hit. It's taking out most things in the format, but as long as they have an ability. Like if you were into a Torterra mirror match, you're not going to take that out with Galvantula. You need to get your own Torterra set up and have 4 evolved Pokemon on the board to get there, which isn't that hard to do. Really interesting concept, and I love seeing these kind of like rogue cards getting a place to see play. Like if you were going to cook up a Torterra list, is there any special attackers you try and slot in? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. But also having a Kricketune in here with Swelling Tune. Your grass Pokemon, except other Kricketune, get 40 extra HP. So your Torterra all of a sudden has 230, your Galvantula has 140. Yeah, nice little bonus to have on there. They also included some Luxrays in here, since they do have lightning energy to set up the Galvantula and reversal energy to help set up Galvantula. They can use the reversal energy for Luxray, which counts as 3 energy of any type as long as you're behind on prizes, and Luxray can come out from your hand right onto the bench as long as you're behind on prizes. Also, apologies guys, just gotta grab my cat real quick. He's sneaking around behind the computer. All right, I'll be back in 2 seconds. We're back. Just had Leo like playing around with the chords. Could have been bad. But yeah, for the rest of the deck list here, pretty standard supporter cards. We've got Research, we've got Airzu to get you into your evolution. So ideally that's grabbing your Grottles that then get you into any other things you might need. Boss for some Gust. Cynthia, a draw supporter we don't see very often, and kind of surprised since it allows you to draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. But if any of your Pokemon were knocked out on your opponent's last turn, you can draw until you have 8. You don't need to discard anything, so it's like a, well, research for more cards. Obviously situational though, because if you have 5 or more cards in your hand, you can't be using it, whereas Research just goes, yeah, that's fine, just ditch those other cards, give me 7 things else. So yeah, logic for both, but like seeing that, as well as Iono in here. So quite high draw supporter counts in here. Other cards though, Earthen Vessel to get your energy, and then because it is a grass deck, you've got Bug Catching Set, letting you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and grabbing 2 in any combination of grass Pokemon or basic grass energy. Yeah, honestly, love this type of Torterra list, and congrats again on making it into the top 6 Kirketta. Milky got 5th place this week, which if you've been around the channel for a while, this is a name you are all too familiar with and seems to have a very different deck every week. He ran Cloth. Yeah, the crab, the crab, man. So Cloth has the attack Unhinged Scissors. It does a base damage of 30, but if this Pokemon's affected by a special condition, it's going to do 160 more, so getting up to 190 for just 2 colorless energy. You're going to be using DTE for the most part to pay for that, so it reduces that down by 20, bringing you to 170, but on a basic Pokemon, that's fine. Like 1 attachment, basic, go. Absolutely busted. You're taking out most things in the format and is an absolute force to be reckoned with. To make sure this is affected by a special condition though, you're going to pair it with Brute Bonnet, who can poison both active Pokemon as long as it has an ancient energy or ancient boost energy capsule attached to it. So you just get these two out, and then it's like, all right, poison my Cloth, poison them. Cloth does more damage. They take a bit of damage between turns because of the poison. Sweet. And to scale up that poison damage even more, we do have Perlious Jungle, which makes it so that you're putting 2 damage counters on each poisoned non-dark Pokemon between turns. Your Cloth would be poisoned, they're going to be getting hurt a little bit more, unfortunately, from this too. But if you have something in the active, like maybe you just have Brute Bonnet in the active and it's poisoning both active Pokemon. Pretty sure Ancient Boost Capsule says just like, you don't get affected by special conditions, so you don't take anything from poison. You're poisoning the opponent though, and then they're taking a bit of damage from that. So it's kind of a way that it's like, hey, even if you don't have an attacker charged up, you can just do that to do 30 damage potentially. Could be an interesting call. Also having Binding Mochi, making it so that if your Pokemon's poisoned, they're going to do 40 more damage with attacks, scaling up your Cloth so you can deal with larger targets, like taking out Okidogis and stuff like that. As a secondary attacker in the deck though, we do have Blood Moon Ursaluna, whose battle hardened ability makes it so when you play it from your hand onto the bench, you're going to put 2 basic fighting energy cards that are in your hand onto this Pokemon. So then just 1 more attachment for turn onto this and it's ready to go. Starts at a base damage of 100, but does 30 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. To get damage counters out, you can be doing some with poison, so just have something a little bit chipped beforehand and then Ursaluna finishes it off, or you can be using Dusclops or Dusk Noir. So Dusclops, knock it out, put 5 damage counters onto them. That makes it so Ursaluna does 150 more damage on top of the base damage of 100 already. I don't think there's anything that would be surviving that. So yes, that's a scary bear. For a draw engine though, having Bibarel combined with Squovit, so draw until you have 5, Squovit can just like get rid of your hand, draw 1 card, like the cards go on the bottom of the deck, so you could like research or Iono into a large hand, get what you want out of that, go down to 1, Bibarel get into 5, solid. And since it is playing poison, I did skim over this, should have talked about that when we were on the Brute Bonnet, but we've got Atticus in here. So you can only use this card if your opponent's active Pokemon's poisoned. You're going to shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 7 cards. So sort of like Professor's Research, but you don't have to discard anything. That's a really good card. If you're able to run that in a deck, absolutely busted. I love it. For some other supporters though, we are seeing Penny show up, meaning that your Cloths and your Blood Moon Ursalunas can be tanking some hits, and then you're just scooping them up like nothing ever happened, having Luxurious Cape to give them a little bit more health so they can tank those hits easier, as well as having the Ancient Boost Capsule, which could be on your Brute Bonnet, so that, yeah, you could theoretically have Brute Bonnet sat in the active poisoning things and just tanking a bit and then scoop it up at some point. So yeah, honestly, love this concept for a deck, and congrats Milky on getting 5th. In 4th place, we have TripleB. Name sounds kind of familiar. I think I know that guy. But yeah, he also ran Torterra. So we talked about him before, having Evo Press, you scale up damage based on the amount of evolution Pokemon in your deck, and the Grottle to get your grass Pokemon out of your deck. Having Beautifly in here as a draw engine, allowing you to draw until you have 6 cards in hand once per turn. Not bad. It's a grass Pokemon, so you can be searching that out of your deck easily. Kricketune to give your grass Pokemon more HP, and then Rabsca to make sure that your bench Pokemon aren't going to be affected by damage or effects of attacks. So that's going to be preventing Devolution TM from devolving you into like smaller things, and it's going to prevent spread damage from hitting your bench. It's also going to prevent like damage counters from being put on your bench. Hisuian Braviary, pretty threatening card. It's not a basic Pokemon that's putting damage counters, it's an evolution. So Jirachi doesn't protect against that, and it's started to see play in the Australian tournament this week. So Rabsca just gives you a way to kind of prevent against that damage. Did include Manaphy as another form of bench protection. So if you're into a spread deck and you're prized one of the pieces of this evolution line, being a stage 1, yeah, if you prize the Rabsca, there's no way to get it out of the prizes other than taking a prize. And it would really suck if it was the 6th prize card of a game. Not saying that happened when I was playing against a spread deck, but it did. Still somehow managed to get there, but yeah. So it's always good just to kind of have a backup option for there. Did include the Luxray as well though, so we can get that out of our hand onto the bench if we're behind in prizes, and scaling up the damage of the Torterra, including reversal energy so that it can be an attacking option as well. For supporter cards though, pretty standard stuff in here. Did include Gardenia's Vigor just as a way to get some energy onto our Torterras. Needing 2 energy to start attacking can be a little bit awkward. Reversal energy is a 1 attachment to get it going if you're behind in prizes, but if you're not, it's just like, hey, Gardenia, do I have grass energy in hand? Neat, I can attach 2 of them to one of my bench Pokemon, being the Torterra. We have Rescue Board, we have Switch, we have ways to bounce things around, like Beautifly has 1 retreat. Chuck a Rescue Board on there to make it a pivot Pokemon to set up your Torterra. Yeah. Not a bad option to have at all. In third place, we are seeing King Carp, and he ran like a Dust Noir Xatu box? I'll be honest, this deck kind of broke my brain. I don't really know that I can do it justice talking it through, but I'll give it a shot. So you have the Dusclops and Duskmar that can knock themselves out, putting damage counters out. You're getting knocked out, so you are giving up prizes. Once you go down to a point where your opponent only has 1 prize card remaining, you can use Slowbro, who just takes 2 prize cards. So the game plan is like kind of take a couple prizes with the Dusclops and the Dusk Noir, maybe sneak out with a Dunsparce and take a KO. Like you have Xatu to charge this up, you can be taking some prizes. And then just get to the point where your opponent has 1 prize card remaining, you have 2, Slowbro closes out the match. That's some big brain shenanigans. I love it. I'm kind of scared of it. And the fact that you made it into third place, like, it clearly works. I don't think I'd be able to pilot it to that level, but like, honestly, props for doing that. The rest of the cards in here, though, pretty standard staple cards. We are seeing Tulip, though, effectively being like Lana's Aid, but specific for Psychic Pokemon. So you can get 4 in any combination of Psychic Pokemon or Basic Energy. Because it's limited to 1 type, it does get you 1 extra card. So respect that. And having Clavel, allowing you to search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon with 120 HP or less and put them onto your bench. There's nothing really in here that has more than 70 HP that you can't just be getting with Buddy Buddy Poffin. Thunderpork, welcome to the Goomba gang. Yeah, if you join over on Twitch, you get a Goomba popping up on the screen. So yeah, thanks, Thunderpork, and welcome to the community. But yeah, the Clavel, just a great way to set up into your bench. Obviously, you've got Nest Ball, Buddy Buddy popping to get things onto your board, but because you do want those Duskull out ASAP, it's just another way to get multiples out and just start knocking them out.
Nobody expects the Spanish
Into
Inquisition.
second place, we are seeing Jab taking it home. Got into the finals with a Frostlass deck using Absol for some spread. It's got Swirling Disaster doing 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So great way to spread some damage while Frostlass is spreading damage. You've also got a Veltal in here, putting 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that already has damage on it. So Frostlass is putting some pings on things, Veltal's scaling that up, or you just go Absol, spread onto everything. A Veltal, you're doing more, great. A Veltal gets past Manaphy, so it's a good option to have, and Absol gets past Jirachi. So if your opponent has one of those things protecting your bench, you're like, okay, I'm just going to pivot into this other option then until I take that thing out, and I'll go back into the other thing. It does also have Spinda in here for even more spread. So Dizzying Spin is going to do 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon, and it's also going to be confusing your opponent's active Pokemon. So if they're an evolution Pokemon that's all the way evolved up, or a basic Pokemon that just wants to sit there and attack, you just go, all right, you're confused. You're going to be flipping a coin. Maybe you hit me, maybe you hit yourself, and I'm also hurting your bench. Honestly, this is kind of scary deck. Like a basic attacking spread deck, very intimidating. The numbers aren't quite as high as something like Braviary, but the fact that it's just, you shouldn't have an issue always having an attacker in the active, getting spread out, yeah, that's pretty scary stuff. Also having Mawile just to lock something in the active that can't attack and is going to have a hard time retreating. Like once they're through all their switch cards, you just lock something in the active and Frostlass just takes down their board. Frostlass damaging your Monkey Dories, you're moving damage counters onto their board. You've got a couple options you can go for. Also including Elekid in here for its free retreat, it's a great option, but also for Crackling Shot, which doesn't cost any energy to use and is going to put 30 damage onto one of your opponent's Pokemon. It would be blocked by Manaphy if you try and go for the bench, but it can still be great just to kind of set up into things quickly. Like if you have Monkey Dory, he can move 30 damage counters onto something that has 60 HP, and then Elekid goes, all right, now knock that out. Yep, that's pretty intimidating. And in first place, we are seeing Dead Fox piloting a Hisuian Arcanine Frostlass deck with Braviary. Elekid's in here and a Veltal's in here. So it's going to seem like a pretty similar list to what we saw in the Australian finals. Last night I won the tournament with it, and we did have someone in second place playing a similar deck. They've opted to include the Elekid in here though. So I think the other decks had like a 2-2 Braviary line, but they've got the Elekid kind of just to have that pressure of like, yep, put a bit of damage out, Monkey Dory finish something off, or Frostlass is starting to put pressure onto them. So I respect that. And also included a Cleffa just for Grasping Draw and another free retreat option. So if you're trying to get set up, it's a great option to be able to go into, right? Like I've used my hand, I need to get into cards, cool, draw 7. And I can be attaching a Dark Energy for turn onto a Monkey Dory instead of onto an attacker in the active. Yeah, respect that. The rest of the deck list though, I feel like you guys are pretty familiar with it. Something a bit spicy I am seeing though is Grant. So during your turn, your fighting Pokemon are going to do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Arcanine, he's a fighting Pokemon. He's attacking for free, doing 30 base damage and 90 more if any of your guys are damaged. So like your Munkidori, it's likely going to be hurt, or potentially a Manaphy is going to be damaged by your Frostlass. You're going to be doing 120, and Grant's letting you get up to 150. So just to kind of fix some breakpoint numbers for you, getting into big KOs before you've even got damage counters onto their Pokemon. I like it. I like it. And the fact that Grant, you can just get it back from the discard pile at any time. You do have to discard 2 cards from your hand to do it, but it's just like, I need a bit more damage. Cool, get Grant back. We're good. So yeah, I honestly really like that. And one card I gotta read this one, to be honest. Iscan. Draw 2 cards. If your active Pokemon has Hisuian in its name, draw 2 more cards. So straight draw 4, you're usually gonna have Arcanine or Braviary sat in the active. Okay, you know what? I can get on board with that. It's a great way, instead of having to like discard your hand or shuffle your hand back into your deck, just straight drawing. It's like, well, I have these pieces. I don't need them right this second, but I do need them like next turn. So I'm going to use Iscan and dig a little bit deeper. Like maybe you have the Dark Energy, but you don't have the Munkidori. It's like, well, I want to find that Munkidori so I can bench him and attach a Dark Energy. Iscan's letting you hold on to those pieces and dig a little bit further. So I'll be honest, yeah, I kind of forgot this card existed. Respect, Dead Fox. You did a deep dive on your supporters. And yeah, congrats again on winning. Hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you're keen for more content like this, let me know in the comments down below. Have been considering kind of cutting back on these top 8 videos because we have the Australian tournament, we have the American or North American tournament now. It does take quite a bit of time to get these recorded, edit them, get them posted on YouTube, and I don't know, like, are you guys watching these week by week, or do you just kind of want like a roundup of the week's results? Like, should we be combining the Australian and the North American one into one and just do the top 8 across the 2 tournaments? Because that's kind of where my head's at. And I think we're going to start trialing that going forward. But if you guys are really keen on like, no, keep the top 8 going, keep the top 8 going, let me know. We can definitely look into it. But it is just one of those things of time's one of those resources I don't have a lot of. So I'm trying to find ways to kind of refine the workflow while still giving you guys quality content. I hope you guys did enjoy the video though. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. And if you're after some more content, here's some other videos that YouTube thinks you'll like. Till next time though, stay golden, you Goombas.